नमस्कार, बहुत बहुत स्वागत है आप सभी का बजट से जुड़ी आशाओं, आकांक्षाओं और चुनौतियों से जुड़े इस खास कार्यक्रम में। मैं हूं प्रीति सिंह।
आई एम विशाल दहिया।
एक तरह से देखें तो गांव में भारत बसता है। तो अगर बात करें इस भारत में खुशहाली की और विकास का जो संदेश है उसे लेकर जाने की, तो कहीं ना कहीं ये पहुंचता है सड़कों के जरिए। कहने को बात छोटी लगे, लेकिन ये बड़ी अहम बात है। सड़क प्रतीक होती है विकास की, ढांचागत विकास की, रफ्तार की, और इतिहास गवाह है कि जहां जहां पक्की सड़कें पहुंची हैं, आज सरकार केवल सड़क ही नहीं बल्कि गांव में पक्के मकान, बिजली, पानी और सफाई की वो सभी सुविधाएं मुहैया करा रही है जो कभी शहरों तक ही सीमित थी। ये सुविधाएं मात्र ही नहीं है, इनसे गांव का विकास और गांव में रहने वालों के जीवन स्तर में सुधार जो है वो सीधे तौर पर जुड़ा हुआ है। लाजमी है कि इस क्षेत्र को भी बजट से काफी उम्मीदें हैं, और आज का जो हमारा खास कार्यक्रम है वो भी इसी के लिए समर्पित है। ग्रामीण इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के विकास और आकांक्षीय जिले यानी एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट पर।
Okay, definitely. As my colleague Preeti is pointing out, the focus today will be on the rural development, the rural areas specifically. And as all of us know, the rural heartland is the backbone there when we're looking at overall economic growth. And obviously, there are a lot of challenges there and there are a lot of opportunities as well. So let's try and understand before we start the discussion as to what exactly has been done so far in terms of ensuring that development in rural areas.
Close to 70% of India's population lives in rural areas. Unless rural India develops, India can't call itself a developed nation. Bridging the distance between the village and the city is a work in progress for successive governments. The talk of a village usually suggests a place of few pakka houses and absence of toilets, electricity or even cooking gas. Lack of basic amenities has been a constant problem for villages. But in the last 6 years, the government has taken several measures to change the picture. Successive budgets have paid special attention to rural development by steadily increasing allocations. The last 10 years have seen an annual growth of 7.2% in spending on rural development. Year 2020-21 saw an allocation of 1,20,147 crore for the Rural Development Ministry. In the last 6 years, the government has initiated several landmark schemes to bring about all-round development in the villages. It started with the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen to improve housing in 2015. In the same year, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Grameen Kaushalya Yojana sought to skill rural youth and provide them jobs. The Swachh Bharat Mission Grameen aimed at providing rural population drinking water and sanitation. In 2016, the Shyama Prasad Mukherjee National Urban Mission was launched to bring in comprehensive changes in the areas that reached the threshold of development. It identifies rural clusters across the country that shows urbanization. In 2017, the Pradhan Mantri Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana was initiated to bring electricity to every household. In 2018, Mission Antyodaya attempted to tackle poverty. The Ayushman Bharat Yojana was intended to be a flagship health protection scheme. The Jal Jeevan Mission to ensure potable water in 2019 and Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana to provide connectivity to unconnected habitations. The government has set itself a target of providing pakka houses to all by the year 2022. The task would entail construction of 2.95 crore houses for rural families, 1 crore houses in first phase and 1.95 crore houses in the second phase. At the same time, to provide better connectivity to the villages, 1,78,000 habitations have been connected to urban areas so far. The third phase of Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak will construct 1,25,000 kilometers of road. The government has given its roadmap to change the face of rural India by the year 2024. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
तो आज हम खास तौर से फोकस कर रहे हैं ग्रामीण इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर और साथ ही जो एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं यानी आकांक्षी ज़िले हैं, और हम जानेंगे कि बजट इनमें क्या कुछ खास कर सकता है, बजट में किस तरह की उम्मीदें हैं इस क्षेत्र के लिए। और इस पर चर्चा करने के लिए हमारे साथ कई खास मेहमान जुड़ रहे हैं। हमारे साथ अभिनव प्रकाश हैं, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर इकोनॉमिक्स, दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी। साथ ही हमारे साथ है राकेश रंजन जी, सीनियर कंसल्टेंट, नीति आयोग।
हमारे साथ दो और मेहमान भी जुड़े हुए हैं. वी ऑल्सो हैव विद अस डॉक्टर विवेक कुमार. ही इज द प्रोफेसर एट द सेंटर फॉर रूरल डेवलपमेंट एंड टेक्नोलॉजी, that is IIT Delhi. We also have the industry representative with us. Mr. Dilip Chenoy is joining us, Secretary General FICCI also there with us. So let's begin the discussion. Preeti?
पहले हम शुरुआत अभिनव प्रकाश जी के साथ करना चाहेंगे और थोड़ा समझना चाहेंगे, क्योंकि ये बजट अभिनव जी कोरोना महामारी की जो चुनौती हैं उसके बीच आ रहा है, और इस बीच हम जानते हैं कि जो ग्रामीण क्षेत्र है उसकी अर्थव्यवस्था की बात करें या पूरे क्षेत्र को लेकर अगर हम बात करें, उस पर भी इसका प्रभाव पड़ा है, असर पड़ा है। अगर देखें तो हमने देखा शहरों से किस तरह आबादी गांव की तरफ वापस लौटी है, यानी बहुत सी चुनौती और बहुत बदला हुआ परिवेश भी है। इन सब के बीच हम ग्रामीण सेक्टर की बात करें, इसके लिए बजट क्या उम्मीदें लेकर आ सकता है और क्या परिकल्पना हमें बजट में इसके लिए दिख सकती है?
जी, आपने ये बात सही बोली है कि ये जो हम पोस्ट कोविड के बाद जो सिनेरियो देखेंगे वो पिछले सिनेरियो से काफ़ी अलग होगा, और गांव पे दोबारा फोकस जो है, ग्रामीण इलाकों पे दोबारा फोकस बजट में देखने की संभावना है। क्योंकि आपने से बोला कि बहुत बड़ी आबादी पहले गांव से शहरों की तरफ जा रही थी, लेकिन पिछले कुछ महीने में देखा है कि रिवर्स माइग्रेशन हुआ है। तो उसको कंट्रोल करने के लिए, उसको कैटर करने के लिए हम उम्मीद कर सकते हैं कि सोशल सिक्योरिटी के जो स्कीम्स हैं गाँव में, उनमें एलोकेशन बढ़ सकता है। दूसरी बात है कि गाँव में जो रोज़गार जनरेशन की योजनाएँ हैं, जैसे हमने देखा था कि मनरेगा में काफ़ी इंक्रीज़ हुआ था, तो उसको कंटिन्यू रहेगा, ऐसा हम उम्मीद कर सकते हैं। लेकिन हमने जो गांव के विकास की बात है या जो गांव के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात है, इस पे अगर हम सरकार का अप्रोच देखें पिछले कुछ सालों का, तो उसमें एक सिनर्जी को लेके, एक कन्वर्जेंस को लेके काफ़ी एम्फेसिस है। पहले होता था कि आप अलग अलग स्कीमों पे इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, इसमें पैसा अलॉट कर रहे हैं, और वो साइलोज में काम करती थी। अब क्या है कि एक सिनर्जी वाला अप्रोच है, कन्वर्जेंस का अप्रोच है। जैसे कि आपका स्वच्छ भारत अभियान जो है, स्वच्छ भारत अभियान है आपका, उसके बाद हर घर में बिजली पहुंचाने का जो अभियान है, मकान देने का अभियान है, और अब जो है पानी, जो जल शक्ति योजना चल रही है कि अब हर घरों में आप टैप वाटर देंगे। तो इनका आपस में जो कन्वर्जेंस होता है ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट को इंक्रीज़ करने में, गांव में लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड्स को इम्प्रूव करने में, डिजीज़ का बर्डन कम करने में, स्वच्छ भारत और जल शक्ति को मिला दें तो जो गाँव में बहुत बड़ी समस्या होती है, जो वो बीमारी की होती है, उसका बर्डन कम करने में, वो सब इनफैक्ट हमको देखने में काफ़ी मिल सकता है। तो हमको लगता है कि ये जो योजनाएं हैं जो अब एक साथ कोऑर्डिनेट होकर काम कर रही हैं, इनमें एम्फेसिस रहेगा, इनको बढ़ने की, इनके ऊपर खर्चा बढ़ने की संभावना ज़्यादा दिखती है। दूसरी बात है कि जो आपकी बेसिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, जैसे कि रोड कंस्ट्रक्शन हो गया या इरिगेशन पे जो हो गया, जोड़ हो गया, या खेती के क्षेत्र में हमने अभी फार्म नए कृषि कानून लागू किए हैं, उसको सप्लीमेंट करने के लिए सरकार की तरफ से योजनाएं आ सकती हैं कि बेसिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में इन्वेस्टमेंट को और स्ट्रीमलाइन किया जा सकता है और बढ़ाया जा सकता है, ताकि किसानों को उन नए कानूनों का पूरा फ़ायदा, या जो नया स्ट्रक्चर प्लेस हो रहा है उसका पूरा फ़ायदा मिल सके। तो हम उम्मीद कर सकते हैं बजट बढ़ेगा और पुरानी योजनाओं को और ज़्यादा एलोकेशन हो सकता है, जैसे कि जो बेसिक एम्यूनिटीज़ की योजनाएँ हैं।
Okay, indeed, that looks like quite an holistic approach there, which Mr. Prakash is advocating. But let me also bring in Mr. Rakesh Ranjan here, Senior Consultant, Niti Aayog. Mr. Ranjan, as Abhinav was pointing out, it needs a sort of a holistic approach, and when we are talking about development in rural areas, then there has to be a focused way of doing as well. Now that brings into discussion here one very important aspect, and that is aspirational district. So how has the work happened as far as the aspirational districts are concerned in the past few years there, and what should be the approach, because most of these aspirational districts are in the rural hinterland only?
Yes, let me supplement what Abhinav has said in terms of approach first. I will be very brief on that because Abhinav has covered. But the approach has been that first improve the facility in the rural area. It is very clear that in all the budget for government, the rural area is very important because the agriculture produce around 14 to 15% in our GDP, whereas the number of people who are employed in the agriculture or farm sector is around 42%. So if a workforce, very large number of people are still in the rural area, then it is very important and imperative for us that we keep on providing the importance to the rural area. Now the approach has been that first you create the infrastructure, and with a two distinctions. One is the infrastructure which raises the productivity of the people, say in the nature of the rural roads. You must have seen, and as you have shown in the clipping as well, the improvement that has taken place in the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. The connectivity brings development, which is very rightly said in the beginning. And also this time the facility has been that what you bring inside the home, because it has its own social dynamic, like providing under Ujjwala scheme, gas connection, or taking other such matters which has improved your living standard in the rural area. So taking all these things around, the third aspect has been that you provide the safety net, which is Manrega, and which, as Abhinav has said, that there has been the reverse migration, but now that there are signs that the people are moving towards the urban areas and the economy is going to kind of move towards the recovery. So what we see that the safety net would be required for some more time, and we expect that the safety net would continue.
Okay.
Now, as regard the aspirational district, it is somewhat more long-termist, because it is based on these basic conviction that people in rural area must also become rich in the long run. And the best way to make people comfortable and prosperous is to provide the basic infrastructure, provide the basic quality, basic human capital, and concentrate on health and nutrition and the school education.
Okay.
So apart from this, agriculture, water resource management, and then financial inclusion and skill development and basic infrastructure. So the idea of aspirational district program was that pick up 100 to 112 most backward districts. So we have picked up 112 most backward districts in India, which are largely rural. Look at the important indicators which make difference in the life of the people. Focus on those indicators, try have a convergence approach, as you have been saying that, and as Abhinav has also said, the silos approach doesn't work. So try the convergence approach with different schemes that Government of India has and the state government have. And in a partnership, monitor the progress and make the district magistrates and the district team to compete. Now that brings me to a very important distinction that this program has, and that is that the competition element, that tell a district that you are doing best in 1 month, or what we call is that we rank the district and we tell them that you are the best in this health and your improvement is the highest in education. So believe me, it is this idea of competition that you introduce in the government system and at the level of the public delivery system has done wonders. And in last 3 years, the program has shown significant development in many of the indicators which are relevant for the life of the people in terms of increasing their ease of living and also for raising their economic productivity. So the important sector that we have taken is health, nutrition, school education, and financial inclusion, agriculture development, and basic infrastructure under this program.
Okay, definitely that basic infrastructure, Preeti, is really, really important when we talk about rural development there. And as Mr. Ranjan was pointing out, this is something which is being taken care of in aspirational districts there.
अब विवेक कुमार जी से हम थोड़ा समझेंगे, एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स की जब बात कर रहे हैं, जैसा अभी हमें रंजन सर ने बताने की कोशिश भी की, किस तरह से जो 6 पैरामीटर हैं उन पर ये 112 ज़िले हैं, उस पर एक तरह से कहें हेल्दी प्रतिस्पर्धा, हेल्दी कंपटीशन होता है, वो किस तरह से असर आपकी नज़र में डाल रहा है। और साथ ही इसके साथ विवेक जी ये भी समझना चाहेंगे कि योजनाओं की जब हम बात कर रहे हैं तो बहुत सारी ऐसी योजनाएं हैं, हाल के सालों में हम देखें तो गांव की तस्वीर बदलने का जो सिलसिला एक तरह से शुरू हुआ वो जारी है। और चाहे हम आवास योजना, प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना ग्रामीण की बात करें, दीनदयाल उपाध्याय ग्रामीण कौशल योजना की बात करें, स्वास्थ्य को लेकर बात करें, स्वच्छ भारत मिशन की बात करें, रूरबन मिशन की बात करें, योजनाएं बहुत हैं। आपको लग रहा है कि इस बजट में क्या हमें ग्रामीण क्षेत्र के लिए कोई नई योजना की ज़रूरत है या फिर पहले से जो योजनाएं मौजूद हैं उनका दायरा बढ़ाने की ज़रूरत है? क्या उम्मीद बजट में की जाए?
मैं अपनी बात को आगे बढ़ाऊंगा जहां अभिनव जी ने अपनी बात समाप्त की थी, या आगे जो हमारे नीति आयोग के विशेषज्ञ हैं उन्होंने अपनी बात को रखा। यदि हम पिछले 4-5 वर्षों में देखें तो रूरल सेक्टर के लिए जो बजटरी एलोकेशन है एक बजटरी एलोकेशन हम मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ रूरल डेवलपमेंट में देखते हैं। इसके अलावा हमारी जितनी भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रिलेटेड हमारी योजनाएं हैं, चाहे वो इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन की बात, एनर्जी की बात हो, चाहे वो वाटर एंड सैनिटेशन की बात हो, रोड्स की बात हो, या हम कहें तो प्रोडक्टिविटी इम्प्रूवमेंट करने की बात हो, एजुकेशन की बात हो, सभी जगह हम देखें तो रूरल सेक्टर का जो बजटरी एलोकेशन है वो बड़ा है। हम लोगों को इसको थोड़ा अलग से समझने की ज़रूरत है। यदि जब हम रूरल सेक्टर में बजट एलोकेशन की बात करते हैं तो अधिकांशतः हमारा ध्यान होता है कि मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ रूरल डेवलपमेंट एंड पंचायती राज को कितना हमने बजट एलोकेशन किया है। लेकिन जैसे मैं नेशनल हेल्थ मिशन की बात करूं तो नेशनल हेल्थ मिशन में जो मेजर पोर्शन है वो नेशनल रूरल हेल्थ मिशन को जा रहा है। इसी तरह से एनर्जी सेक्टर की बात हुई कि उज्ज्वला योजना में हमने ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में, तो ये जो पूरा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे जो एम्फेसिस पिछले कई वर्षों में सरकार ने दिखाया है, और ये शायद इस बात को माना गया है कि जब तक हम एक रूरल एरियाज़ को, और जो जिसको हम सो कॉल्ड एक डिवीज़न हमने किया रूरल अर्बन का, उनके बीच में कंटिन्यूम नहीं आएगा। और वो कंटिन्यूम आने के लिए कहीं ना कहीं ये जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट है वो एट पार होना चाहिए, और ये ऐसा हम देख रहे हैं। इवन इंटरनेट में यदि हम देखें तो भारत नेट में बड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट सरकार ने लक्ष्य रखा कि पिछले बजट में सरकार ने लक्ष्य रखा कि 1 लाख पंचायतों तक हम फाइबर पहुंचाएंगे। तो ये जो एक कंटिन्यूम हम लोग देख रहे हैं, तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो आपने प्रश्न किया कि अलग से कोई स्कीम की बात होगी या हम उसके दायरे की बात होगी, मुझे लगता है कि हम अलग से शायद कोई स्कीम नहीं देखेंगे, और दायरा बढ़ने के साथ साथ जो एक मैकेनिज़्म है वो उसको स्ट्रेंथन होता हुआ हम देखना चाहेंगे, और मुझे लगता है कि ऐसा हमें देखने को मिल सकता है। क्योंकि बजटरी एलोकेशन के अलावा नॉन बजटरी फाइनेंस की भी बात हमें समझनी होगी। रूरल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के डेवलपमेंट के लिए जब तक हम नॉन बजटरी मैकेनिज़म्स को स्ट्रेंथन नहीं करेंगे, हालांकि पिछले कई वर्षों में सरकार ने रूरल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट फंड को काफ़ी स्ट्रेंथन किया है, और काफ़ी बड़े बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स उसमें सरकार ने किए हैं, और मुझे लगता है शायद 3 लाख करोड़ के आसपास वहाँ पर एक बजट अभी है। मुझे मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि सरकार को उस पूरा जो RIDF का जो पूरा सिस्टम है उसको और मजबूत करना पड़ेगा, और जो नॉन बैंकिंग और नॉन बजटरी फाइनेंसिस का एक जो पूरा सिस्टम है उसके लिए कुछ आमूलचूल बातें सरकार को इस बजट में और लानी चाहिए। जो नए कृषि कानून आए हैं उसमें पिछली वर्ष भी सरकार ने कोल्ड स्टोरेज चेन्स की बात की थी, वेयर हाउसेज के जियो टैगिंग की बात की थी, उसमें क्या प्रगति हुई है और उसको आगे सरकार कैसे ले जाना चाहती है, तो उस सब को मुझे लगता है कि हम लोग देखेंगे। अलग से स्कीम मेरे विचार से आना आवश्यक भी नहीं है, और जो स्कीम्स हैं उनको ही स्ट्रेंथन करना चाहिए। लेकिन साथ में मैं ये भी कहूँगा कि नॉन बजटरी और नॉन बैंकिंग फाइनेंस के बारे में भी सरकार को कुछ बड़े प्रयास करने पड़ेंगे, और कम से कम एक नीतिगत बातें हमें बजट में इसके बारे में देखने को मिल सकती हैं।
Okay. Those indeed are very, very significant points, Preeti, there, and infrastructure has definitely been the focus area there. That brings us to another panelist who's with us, Mr. Dilip Chenoy, the Secretary General of FICCI, who is with us. Mr. Chenoy, if we are looking at this particular aspect, and as our panelists are also pointing out, then clearly it looks like that there has been a lot of focus for building infrastructure in the rural areas, and that also brings in a lot of opportunities for the industry. There are challenges, but then there are opportunities as well. And the way the industry the private sector can go ahead and pitch in for the growth of the rural areas there.
I think, Vishal, you're absolutely right. And, I just want to build on what the earlier participants, panelists said. Actually, if you look at the budget of the rural development, and also, the graphics that you showed, right, are with budget estimate of 2021. But if you look at the Atmanirbhar program, whether it is the increased allocation for Manrega or the increased allocation for the agriculture farm gate, infrastructure, there have been much more kind of allocations in the 5 versions of the Atmanirbhar Bharat program. Over and above the budget estimates of 2021. So we expect that in this budget also there will be enhanced outlay for the rural sector. Also, like it was mentioned by I think Vivek, it said that you should not only just look at the Ministry of Rural Development budget. You know, if you look at the Delhi Mumbai industrial corridor, or you look at the freight corridor, or you look at the Bangalore Chennai defense corridor, or the UP defense corridor, those also pass through a huge area of rural India. And that development, and where the private sector also invests, because they build, they build factories, they build institutions, some of them build worker housing. So there's a huge opportunity for that going forward. And if you look at a lot of the aspirational districts, some of the corporates have also invested their own, CSR money and other money going forward.
Okay.
And in the PPP mode, in fact, you look at the social infrastructure and health and education, again, a part of the Atmanirbhar package, and also, the 6,600 odd crores there, which is going to leverage private sector investment for social infrastructure in rural India. And of course, the Prime Minister, in his address to FICCI at our annual convention, did mention that the whole opportunity, whether you look at the production-linked incentive schemes or the other industrial development schemes for industry to invest in not only in rural area but tier 1, tier 2 areas, which also are part of the whole rural landscape. So it's a great opportunity. The point was made about cold chains. Again, that's under the Ministry of Food Processing, and it's a center-state initiative. That is also an area for industry to invest.
Okay.
So I think it is important, and one of the most important learnings from the COVID pandemic was that if we invest in rural areas and the rural areas develop as major consumption centers, it acts as a good balancing thing if something were happen in the urban areas.
Okay.
So overall, I believe that the budgeted estimates for last year have already been exceeded. We expect that it may not be a significant 7.2% increase in actual expenditure, but definitely more than that in the budgeted expenditure. And like Rakesh said, that this convergence of center and state, and you saw one portion of Atmanirbhar package was saying that if the states do this, then the government would actually fund extra. So I believe that such things would be coming out in the budget to incentivize the states to direct their resources to supplement central programs. Okay,
definitely. We're all hoping that the budget will focus on various aspects there, Preeti. And let me bring in Mr. Abhinav here again. Abhinav, you earlier spoke about initially how convergence is really, really important, and other panelists are also focusing on that aspect in various ways that convergence is required. That also brings in focus one key area when we are talking about giving that push to development of rural areas, that is the linkages between farm and non-farm. That farm and non-farm linkage is one area where a lot of work needs to be done.
Well, yes, I agree. Say, if you look at the village population in this country, the Kisans form a small portion of the village population. The majority of the village population are the people who are either landless laborers or who are marginal farmers who also effectively work in the non-farm activities. So we have to focus on the non-farm income as well if we want to really boost or give a push to the development in our villages and countryside. Also, we have to rethink our approach towards the villages. Instead of looking them as standalone entities, we have to see them as the part of the supply chain in the wider economic network. So Prime Minister Modi, when he talks about Atmanirbhar Bharat, he's basically talking about integrating India into the global supply chains. So your urban centers become part of the global supply chains. Your villages become part of the supply chain with the urban areas. So that cluster approach, that interlinkages, which will be mainly focused not just on the, let's say, agricultural products, but also on the non-farm products. Like you have in UP one district, one product program, which is a great example of pushing this kind of new activity. But that will require a lot of investment in the skill development. That will require a lot of development in the transportation and in the logistics, because in India, India has one of the highest logistic costs in the entire Asia region. So we need to bring that down. And I agree with my co-panelist from the FICCI that we just don't need to look only at the budget allocated for the villages. we have to also look at the budget allocated for the highway construction, because if you're building expressways, if you're building better railways, freight corridor, that will also basically link these villages to the wider economic system, to the wider market, which will give a boost to the non-farm activities and production in these areas.
Okay.
Another thing which we can do is to boost the cultural activities in the villages. Like in Shantiniketan, you have this cultural tourism spot where people go after Diwali. You have Surajkund Mela. So you have many tribal districts in this country which have their own regional sports. They have their own regional cultural events. We can promote them to promote the non-farm activities, which can give a boost to tourism and income in these areas. So I think we have to have a holistic approach, and this think of self-sustaining village, this mindset of self-sustaining village should go. You should link the villages more to the market forces, greater commercialization of the economic activities, because remember, as we call in Hindi, the Bazaarwad is good, right? Bazaarwad, if you're linking the activities to the market, you achieve greater prosperity and greater development of those regions.
Okay, indeed, linkages are required, and that infrastructure push, Preeti, which everybody is talking about, definitely is clearly about the focus on bringing both farm and non-farm sectors together there clearly.
ठीक है, राकेश रंजन सर, अगर हम गांव में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात करते हैं तो दो सबसे बड़ी चीज़ें हैं, एक सड़क और एक आवाज़, जिनकी सबसे पहले बात होती है। और कहीं ना कहीं जब हम इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात कर रहे हैं तो उससे सीधे सीधे रोज़गार भी जुड़ा है, और सबसे बड़ी जो स्कीम जो सामने आती है वो है मनरेगा। इसके अंदर जो हम एलोकेशन की बात करते हैं गांव में, तो वो भी लगातार बढ़ रहा है। इसके दायरे को आप कैसे देखते हैं, या इसको लेकर जो पॉलिसी है उसे लेकर बजट पे क्या कुछ और आगे हो सकता है? क्योंकि फिर से हम कोरोना की बात कर रहे हैं और गांव में जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और उसके साथ साथ रोजगार दोनों पर फोकस होगा, तो बजट में इसे लेकर क्या बदलाव हम देख सकते हैं?
प्रीति जी, जो आपने मनरेगा के ऊपर ध्यान किया है, मनरेगा के स्वरूप को ठीक से समझना चाहिए। मनरेगा सेफ्टी नेट है। अगर कहीं कोई जॉब नहीं मिल रहा है या कोई जॉब को सप्लीमेंट करनी है, इनकम बहुत नीचे जा रही है, तो मनरेगा की आवश्यकता पड़ती है। लेकिन सरकार के सामने चैलेंज और अपॉर्चुनिटी जो मनरेगा के साथ है कि इस मनरेगा के मनी को कैसे यूज़ किया जाए कि गांव में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी बढ़ते जाएं। और अगर आप मनरेगा के अभी तक के एक्सपेंडिचर को देखेंगे तो देन यू विल सी दैट मनरेगा मनी हैज़ बीन यूज्ड फॉर क्रिएटिंग वाटर रिलेटेड स्ट्रक्चर फॉर क्वाइट अ बिट। तो ये एक बहुत ही इम्पॉर्टेंट प्रोग्राम है, एंड दिस प्रोग्राम विल रिमेन एज वी एक्सपेक्ट दैट दिस प्रोग्राम विल बी एन इम्पॉर्टेंट स्ट्रेटजी फॉर द गवर्नमेंट। But I would like to pick up your show the importance of the farm sector itself, because what's happening, as Abhinav has rightly said, that non-farm sector is very important. But let us recognize one challenge as well as opportunity in the farm sector in India. That India's farm sector, there is a major possibility and potential of improving the farmers on the value chain, because what has been happening is that good number of crops which are very valuable, and diversification of the agriculture, which is the need of the hour. If we are doing that, then the purchasing power, rising purchasing power in the urban area and also in some part of the rural area, that can be taken advantage of. And the rural income can increase by diversification of the agriculture. It is good for our health also, and also because of the mixed farming. So within the agriculture, there is a major scope for transformation. India's agriculture productivity is not very high, so it can be increased. There is a potential of improving that quite a bit. And there is a requirement. I mean, the bottom line is that there is a requirement of a major investment push in the rural sector, but it may not necessarily has to come only through the budget. But also, as Mr. Chinoy has said, that if you create the opportunity which is good and which the government is working, then the private sector may finding very, very rewarding to invest in the supply chain in the rural area, because that is going to be very remunerative, and also in the food processing industry, because as we move the farmer on the value addition, as we move everybody in the chain, the prosperity comes. So approach of the government has been that you create the infrastructure, you create the opportunity, let the money flow in that in the rural area, and create a safety net for the people who are not able to take advantage of all this thing momentarily.
Okay, clearly that is indeed a safety net there, and opportunities has to be created, as Mr. Ranjan was pointing out. That brings me to Dr. Kumar again. Dr. Vivek Kumar, as Mr. Rakesh Ranjan is also emphasizing on, that is, if you look at more push required for agri sector activities, different, doing it in a different manner, the way the agriculture entire resource, or if you look at the way the entire farming is done, that also needs a bit of a relook. The experts have suggested various ways, and that will definitely add on to something which we are talking about, and which is the key focus area always, that is increasing farmers' income. Once income is increased, obviously the standard of life will increase, and that linkage between farm and non-farm sector will have more opportunities to grow.
Yeah, yes, I think you are right. And as my co-panelist also focused on this approach of the government, you see, I just take example of Kisan Rail and then Kisan Udan scheme. I mean, so in aviation sector, in the railway sector, for the first time, government is bringing this concept. And now it is completely focusing. There is a complete focus on the rural areas. There is a complete focus on farm as well as non-farm activities. Similarly, if you look at the this dedicated freight corridor project, now if you look at very closely, this dedicated freight corridor line is passing through several of these aspirational districts, or several of these districts which are really backward, and this will bring complete change in the life of the people, those who are living in these areas. Now the approach of the government is very clear. So they are not, the approach is not segmental approach. They are looking at the things in a very comprehensive way. Now there are certain challenges with the government. Now for example, in the pandemic time, when everybody was focusing on, our Honorable Prime Minister also talked about vocal for local, but then we also have to see if there is any, what is the capacity of these people, to enterprise. If we look at the number of people, those who are involved in farming sector in India, whether as already Dr. Abhinav Prakash mentioned about that, so marginal farmers and then landless labor, they are more than the farmers in rural areas. Now we have to move from farming sector to non-farm enterprise. So this is the area where we really need to, and push for this non-farm enterprise has to come, as I suggested earlier also, not from the budgetary allocation, but from certain fundamental changes government has to bring into the system, whether it should come through credit linkage or whether some other mechanism, but it has to come. So my understanding is that government is really focusing on that, and some of these things you can see in the new farm bills. But the government is really, it's very clear in understanding that until unless the things are, or the rural area is linked with the urban area, I mean you cannot see these in isolation.
Okay.
And probably when we talk about the village self-reliance, probably our planners initially understood it wrongly, and they thought that when we talk about self-reliance of the villages, it means villages in isolation, but that's not the fact. And now the the government has realized that, and government is trying to link, all nodes are now linked. So that is reflected, but still I feel that there are some gaps. So like I mentioned, so if you look at the population which you have to shift from farming to non-farm enterprise, it's a huge population, and per person if you just make an estimate of, let's say 1.5 lakh or 2 lakh, then you can just calculate the amount of fund we require. The current Mudra scheme is largely focused on urban areas.
Okay.
So there are certain fundamental changes, some more changes are required. Obviously government is on the right track. So some inputs still are needed, especially those concerns are raised during this pandemic time.
Okay, okay. Definitely, there are certain concerns which have been raised, and there is a bit of a tweak which is required, as Dr. Kumar is pointing out. Mr. Chenoy, I'd like to bring you in here on a different aspect and a closely related one when we're talking about rural development. A focus there in the rural areas, that is agri-industry. Earlier, when you were responding to my first question, you pointed out clearly and agreed there as well that there are a lot of opportunities for the private sector, for industry there. So agri-industry is one again area. Obviously, agriculture can't, or just the farming activity can't be the only tool or only method through which we can bring in, rural development there or develop rural areas. Agri-industry is equally important.
So you have actually, focused rightly that agriculture is not the only aspect here, because we tend to not look at animal husbandry, poultry farming, the whole Atmanirbhar package on medicinal plants. There are a whole lot of other allied activities there. In addition to what we traditionally term as agriculture, and there are huge missions there. In the last budget and in the last the whole thing to include fisheries as part of it, and also extend the Kisan credit card to that sector. And we got such a huge coastline, and much of the coastline is also in rural India. Mm-hmm. So there are huge opportunities there. One is that even under the Sagarmala project, right? We export a lot of raw fish, raw shrimp. We don't process it. So it's a huge opportunity to process that here, add value within the country, and create more wealth within the country and value addition here than just exporting raw produce. That is one. Second is because of the lack of storage, in the whole warehousing and the cold storage, as I mentioned earlier. There's a lot of waste. Estimates are over 2 lakh crores of agriculture and food produce is wasted. So if we actually invest in that, then we add value to what the farmer gets, increase his income. Then the other aspect is in minor irrigation, drip irrigation. We need to invest in that to increase the Prime Minister said more crop per drop, right? So how do we enable that to happen? How do we then with the agricultural universities, with private sector, use less fertilizer to get more crops? So one way of doubling income is to also reduce the input cost going forward. Okay. So the other thing is there are a lot of items where we can have geographical indicators in the agricultural sector, and with DPIIT and other organizations and the one district, one product scheme, looking at the agricultural produce, which could be Darjeeling tea is example. The Prime Minister recently talked about the saffron from Kashmir. There are other such products right across the country which are not well known. And as we speak with UP, we are actually doing a full GI kind of event on agriculture and non-agriculture. So you see a great opportunity of adding value, and by branding, by labeling, by sustainable organic farming is also another area which we need to go forward. Okay. So there are many opportunities, and I'm definite that you will see much of this being flagged. And normally in the budget there is a huge section on agriculture, and this year the section will be pretty significant. And of course, in the aspirational district program, there is an element and weightage to connecting it to National Agriculture Marketplace. Mm-hmm. So you will see that happen. You will see a lot of digital, the PM Vani scheme. And, the colleague, I think it was Abhinav who mentioned that, the e-connectivity with the panchayats, right? But I think you will see more Wi-Fi hotspots coming in and a lot of more investment going in there. The 6,600 crores, which was allocated last year, you'll see a significant improvement of that going forward. So multiple opportunities through different things, but it is a convergence and everybody working together to change and transform lives in rural India.
Okay, definitely. The allied activities, Preeti, as Mr. Chenoy is pointing out, is equally important as the agriculture or farming is when we're talking about rural development.
विशाल, जब हम इन एक्टिविटीज़ की बात कर रहे हैं, जहां हम एग्रीकल्चर मार्केट की बात कर रहे हैं, नए छोटे उद्योगों की बात कर रहे हैं, तो जाहिर तौर पर अभिनव प्रकाश हम स्किल की भी बात करेंगे, जिसे लेकर जो सरकार है उसका खासा जोर रहा है। और दीनदयाल उपाध्याय ग्रामीण कौशल योजना खास तौर से इसलिए है कि जो युवा हैं 18 से 35 साल तक के, या मैं उम्र को लेकर अगर और सही करूं तो जो युवा वर्ग है उसके स्किल को इजाफा करना, क्योंकि जब हम 70% आबादी गांव में रहने की बात करते हैं तो करीब करीब 70% युवा भी ऐसे हैं जो ग्रामीण इलाकों में रह रहे हैं। तो किस तरह से अपग्रेडेशन इस चीज़ को लेकर गाँव में हो, और जिस तरह के मिशन चलाए जा रहे हैं उन्हें और कैसे अपग्रेड किया जाए? क्या हम लेवल 2 अब देखेंगे बजट में इसके लिए भी?
जी, ये स्किल डेवलपमेंट की बात एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण बात है भारत में, क्योंकि भारत में जो लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी है वो काफ़ी लो है। और इसके लिए स्किल डेवलपमेंट को हमको देखना पड़ेगा, सिर्फ टेक्निकल ट्रेनिंग देने से नहीं देखना पड़ेगा। इसकी शुरुआत होती है आपकी अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ जो न्यूट्रिशन होता है, जो क्योंकि भारत में माल नरिशमेंट बहुत ज़्यादा है, करीब 30-40% आपके लोग सीवियरली माल नरिश्ड हैं, सो वो भी उनकी लाइफ टर्म प्रोडक्टिविटी को हैम्पर करता है। तो स्किल डेवलपमेंट का जो हमारा अप्रोच है इसको हमें थोड़ा वाइडन करना होगा। इसको राइट फ्रॉम फूड सिक्योरिटी से देखना पड़ेगा और अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ बेटर न्यूट्रिशन से। उसके बाद आपकी फॉर्मल स्कूलिंग आती है, क्योंकि भारत में अधिकतर जो बात होती है स्किल ट्रेनिंग की या वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग की, हम उसको एज अ सब्सिट्यूट देखते हैं फॉर्मल एजुकेशन की, जबकि ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए। आपको बेसिक एजुकेशन, आपकी क्वालिटी एजुकेशन होती है, उसके बाद आप किसी को ट्रेन करते हैं किसी चीज़ में, किसी नए वोकेशन में या स्किल में, तो वो ज़्यादा इफेक्टिव होता है। तो हमको उसको थोड़ा, इसका दायरा थोड़ा और बढ़ाना होगा, इसको थोड़ा इंटीग्रेटेड वे में देखना होगा। दूसरी बात है स्किल डेवलपमेंट के बारे में, जैसे हम एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स की बात कर लें तो उसमें एक स्किल डेवलपमेंट भी एक पैरामीटर है आपका। तो उसमें हम पा रहे हैं कि जैसे कि हमारी जो एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं तो उसमें हेल्थ और एजुकेशन पे तो हम अचीव कर ले रहे हैं टारगेट काफ़ी हद तक, लेकिन आपके जो बाकी टारगेट हैं इसमें स्किल डेवलपमेंट भी वहाँ पे हम थोड़ा लैग कर रहे हैं। उसका कारण ये है कि जिसको आप ट्रेन करते हैं उसके बाद वो क्या करेगा, उसका आगे एक फॉरवर्ड लिंकेजेस क्या है। आपने ट्रेनिंग दे दी लेकिन उसको एम्प्लॉयमेंट कहाँ मिलेगा, किस इंडस्ट्री में काम करेगा, वो अभी बहुत स्ट्रीमलाइन ऐसा लगता है कि अभी है नहीं है। तो यहाँ पे जोर देने की आवश्यकता है। यहाँ पे प्राइवेट सेक्टर जो हमारा है, जैसे कि फिकी हो गया, जो कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर है, उनके साथ पार्टनरशिप की बहुत आवश्यकता है। क्योंकि एस्पिरेशनल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स की बात करें या जितने भी हमारे स्किल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम हैं उनकी जो बात करें, उसमें 3 चीज़ बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। एक आपका है कि अवेयरनेस कैंपेन और इन्फॉर्मेशन का कैंपेन, कि लोगों को अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ का पता हो कि ये हम स्किल ट्रेनिंग में पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे तो हमको ये फ़ायदा हो सकता है। दूसरा एक है कोलैबोरेशन, कि आपके डिफरेंट स्टेक होल्डर्स, चाहे वो सिविल सोसाइटी हो, चाहे सरकार हो, चाहे राज्य सरकार हो, या फिर आपका जो प्राइवेट सेक्टर हो, उनके बीच में कोलैबोरेशन कितना है, ये भी स्किल डेवलपमेंट के इसमें बहुत मायने रखता है। और जो तीसरी बात यहाँ पे आती है वो है कि आपकी इकोनॉमिक अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ इन दी MSME सेक्टर, क्योंकि आप जो मैक्सिमम वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग देंगे तो वो किसी इंडस्ट्रियल वर्क के लिए देंगे, लेकिन गांव में हमारे पास इंडस्ट्रियल सेक्टर है नहीं, या जो हमारे गांव के एंटरप्राइजेस होते थे, जो MSMEs होते थे, वो उतने वाइब्रेंट है नहीं। ऑफ कोर्स रीजनल वेरिएशन है, कुछ राज्यों में आप देखेंगे बेहतर है, कुछ में नहीं है, लेकिन मैक्सिमम जगह पे आप पाएंगे कि ऐसा है नहीं। तो स्किल डेवलपमेंट का जो दायरा है वो सिर्फ ट्रेनिंग देने पर नहीं रहना चाहिए, उसको हमें शुरुआत से देखना चाहिए, एंड टू एंड अप्रोच एक इसको लेकर चलना चाहिए मुझे लगता है। लेकिन इस पर सरकार का ध्यान रहेगा, क्योंकि एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी और रोज़गार का जो प्रश्न है कोविड के बाद, वो एक बड़ा प्रश्न है। सो हम उम्मीद कर सकते हैं कि इसमें भी जो है कुछ नई स्कीम आने का या पुरानी स्कीम को और मजबूत करने का इसमें कुछ कदम उठाया जा सकता है।
Okay, definitely. Those are very important, significant points out there. Let me bring in Mr. Rakesh Ranjan here as well. Mr. Ranjan, would you agree with what Abhinav is pointing out in terms of skills out there? Quite an equally important aspect when we are talking about rural development. It's not only about putting in infrastructure in place or linkages of farm and non-farm sector, agriculture, allied activity. It's all about skills as well.
Yes, Rahul, this is something which he said was very important. But let me also tell you that a platform has been set. I will take you to the Ujjwala scheme and look at the life of the women in the rural India. What is happening earlier was that a good part of the productive life is spent on meeting the basic needs. If you try kind of improve those facilities where the women get more leisure and they get more facilities in terms of, say, electricity at every home, it's not a mean development. It's a very important development and a very important platform for raising the productivity in the rural sector. Similarly, the Ujjwala scheme And you would be seeing the quiet revolution that is taking place in the rural areas in Bihar, where the self-help group of the women are working very well. So the approach that is there is that you put money, that is one thing. You expect the private sector to put money, that is another. But how do you organize yourself so that the money that you have put has a better productivity? And an important thing is that how do you recognize and encourage the actors that give rise to the economic activity? And that is why the important element for the government is to encourage the self-help group or those kind of cluster approach where people are together and push for the credit. Because as I said, one of the important things that we monitor in the aspirational district program is that the rural credit, that where the rural credit is going, the livestock credit, because it is very important that the credit flow improves in the rural area so that the investment can come from the private sector, but also that there is an inner urge in the household that they can become an entrepreneur on their own. So you would have seen that some of the indicators that we have taken up is the relating to the skill as well as the financial inclusion, because the financial sector is something which is providing credit at a very cheap rate compared to the traditional sources of credit. So why do we kind of not encourage these things? Because these are, in our opinion, the low-hanging fruit in India. Because at the level, the Indian rural sector requires a lot of investment, but this investment needn't be on a very large investment by one company or something like that. There must be need for the micro investment and micro risk taking by the self-help group, and especially led by the women. So that is a very important approach, and I think the point then the Abhinav raises is of the skill, which is fairly important in that, and the emphasis on the skill-related program would continue, but it needs definitely the whole set of linkages which need to work. I can give you one example. The L&T came to us and said they want to work in aspirational district, and we said, look, I mean, you have a lot of experience with linkages with the industry. So you try, develop the skill in the construction sector in rural areas in aspirational district on your CSR platform. So example like this can be multiplied. There is a good opportunity in the rural area India today that you develop the micro entrepreneurship as well as the skill for that.
Okay, indeed, micro entrepreneurship skill is definitely required there, and linkages, Preeti, is the key word, as आप Lisa pointing out.
और आखिर में क्योंकि समय पूरा हो रहा है, विवेक कुमार सर आपसे बहुत संक्षेप में समझना चाहेंगे तमाम बातें जो आज की चर्चा में सामने आई हैं, और हम जानते हैं कि सरकार बहुत फोकस रही है और बहुत प्लानिंग के साथ ग्रामीण इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर या ओवरऑल ग्रामीण विकास की बात करें उसको लेकर आगे बढ़ रही है। फिलहाल इस बजट में चुनौती क्या बड़ी देख रहे हैं आप सरकार के सामने इस क्षेत्र को लेकर?
जैसे मैंने प्रीति जी, जैसे मैंने पहले भी कहा था कि जो मुझे एक बड़ी चुनौती दिखती है वो नॉन फार्म एंटरप्राइज में कैसे सरकार नीतिगत फैसले लेती है और कैसे उसको स्ट्रेंथन करती है। और दूसरा जो एक बड़ी चुनौती जो मैं समझता हूँ, जो स्किल के बारे में हमारी चर्चा हो रही थी, तो एक बड़ा सेक्टर है इनफॉर्मल स्किलिंग सेक्टर है। जैसे हम कृषि की बात करें या एक बहुत बड़ा हमारा इंडस्ट्रियल हैंडीक्राफ्ट में रूरल, स्पेशली रूरल सेक्टर में एक बड़ा सेक्टर है जिसमें कि एक इनफॉर्मल स्किलिंग होती है। तो एक ये पूरा एक ऐसा सेक्टर छूटा हुआ है और ये सरकार इसको अभी शायद रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं कर रही। तो ये एक बड़ा चैलेंज है कि कैसे एक इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर में जो हम लोग परंपरागत स्किलिंग कर रहे हैं उसको कैसे रिकॉग्नाइज किया जाए ट्रेडिशनल जॉब रोल्स की जॉब रोल्स में, और कैसे नए जॉब रोल्स, जैसे उदाहरण के लिए मान लीजिए शिक्षा की बात करें तो शिक्षा में क्या हम ग्रामीण स्तर पर ही लोगों को स्किलिंग करके या कुछ युवाओं को स्किलिंग करके उनको एक प्राइमरी स्तर के शिक्षण का कार्य उनको दे सकते हैं। ऐसे कुछ नए जॉब रोल्स जिनके बारे में हम लोग बात कर सकते हैं। तो मुझे लगता है कि कौशल विकास में ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में एक हमारे पास चैलेंजेस हैं, उनके ऊपर सरकार क्या करेगी वो हमें देखना चाहिए। और ये जो नॉन फार्म एंटरप्राइज है इसके बारे में किस तरह के नीतिगत फैसले होते हैं उसके बारे में हमारा ध्यान रहना चाहिए। बाकी तो बजट एलोकेशन हम लोग सभी लोग चर्चा कर रहे हैं कि सरकार की अप्रोच है कि ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों को वो मेन स्ट्रीम में लेकर आए।
Okay, indeed. Let me also bring in Abhinav here. Abhinav, your views there on the way forward from here, and obviously expectations from the budget is definitely an important part there of this particular aspect what we are discussing. But the challenges, the opportunities, and how to tackle those challenges.
Well, that's a very long question, but I'll be brief. I'll simply say that first of all, we need to ensure that the property rights in the countryside are secured, because that's a big issue. Individuals don't want to take any risk with their property. Private sector from other parts of the country don't want to come and invest. So property right should be secured in the first place. Second thing is judicial reform, which is very important, because most of the cases which are coming from the villages and which are basically the property disputes and which are stuck in the courts forever. So if you want private sector to invest, if you want more collaboration, more market forces to operate, the contract enforcement and judicial process needs to be really augmented and reformed. And the third point is increasing the state capacity in the countryside. The frontline bureaucracy needs to be reskilled. You need more expertise out there, and certainly you need more number of people working on the ground. And then you should have a more, let's say, holistic approach which emphasizes collaboration and also competition between different, clusters, different economic zones.
Okay. And about the farm and non-farm activities there, which earlier we were talking about, and as Mr. Chenoy also clearly emphasized, Abhinav there, that it is indeed a very, very important aspect out there. Just the farming activities can't be expected to shoulder the entire burden of rural development.
Yes, and rightly said, and also the continued push in the budget as well as in the years to come on rural infrastructure follow a saturation approach, where the facilities inside the home as well as outside the home is improved to the level that economic productivity rises very much, push the credit in the rural area, and so that encourage the micro enterprise as well as the private sector credit, so that or private sector investment, so that the supply chain improves and we get more value addition in the farm sector.
Okay. Abhinav, your views there on this aspect, ensuring that the allied activities or the so-called not non-core, agriculture areas, they also have a very important role to play.
Well, definitely, if we really want to create prosperity in the countryside, it just can't come from the agricultural sector. It has to come from the non-farm sector, mostly the agro-based industries. And if we look at the recent reforms in different laws, like the farm laws and the labor laws, I think that should give a decent boost or a big boost to the agro-based industries in the countryside. But this reform, or let's say more investment in the supply chains, is very important, because if we really want to increase the living standards in the countryside, the only way to do in the long run is to increase the per capita income. Okay. And that can only come once those people in the countryside or in the villages move up the economic value chain. So I fully agree with what Mr. Ranjan is talking about. And I think we will see more reforms, more allocation of the budget towards those ends.
Okay, definitely more reforms, more allocation of budget is required. Before we bring this to an end, let's also take a quick concluding comment from Mr. Dilip Chenoy as well. Mr. Chenoy, you've given a lot of input in terms of, how things should move ahead, and how it's not only about the budget allocation for the rural sector or the agriculture or allied activities as well. We will have to keep in mind that there are a lot of other sectors whose impact is definitely there for rural development. So how would you sum up not only the expectations but also the challenges here?
I think the first challenge is that there should be consensus that we are going to breach the FRBM limits, not only this year, but perhaps we need a 3-year roadmap there. And I think everybody needs to come together, because it is an act and we need to actually look at that there. The second real thing is that, when Mr. Rakesh Ranjan was talking about competitive, federalism, we have to now also encourage cooperative federalism, where, everyone actually works in together to transform the sector, the center state. And then, the 15th Finance Commission actually comes out with its own recommendations, and the allocation of money between the center state and the local bodies. That also has to be, thought about, and the whole budget has to be planned in that context.
Okay.
That's the first, big challenge. And second, I think it was Abhinav who I actually mentioned that we need to increase the capacity at the local level. So, when Preeti was asking that question on skill development, just on the 15th of January, the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal, Yojana was actually launched. which also talks about skill development at districts, and the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendras are in each district. So again, if you look at skill development, it's not only the Deen Dayal Gramin Kaushal Yojana, but it's also the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Yojana, and
Okay.
also for the migrant workers, Bihar, UP, Kerala, West Bengal, many states actually set up their own programs for skill development. So getting everything to converge, and then having one India, one standard, one kind of thing will actually take us forward. One
Definitely.
India, one market, and the freedom for everybody to access the market in any way that they matter. And that's why the importance of the road linkage and the digital linkage with the village across the country allows them to connect with the world, allows them to market their products anywhere else. And I think that is
Okay.
the biggest thing that will see transforming the entire rural landscape, and therefore the India. Just like India is the back office of the world.
Okay.
This is a scheme of DOT. Can rural India be the back office of India? The rural BPO schemes and a lot of other things, which again gives people employment, where they are rather than them migrating. So I
Okay.
think you'll see a lot of this coming up, in the budget.
Definitely,
In a few
definitely.
days.
These are some of the really important and significant expectations out there. Thank you so much, Mr. Chenoy, as well as Professor Vivek Kumar and Abhinav, along with Mr. Rakesh Ranjan there. Thank you so much for sharing your views with us and our viewers. So, Preeti, as our panelists were pointing out, it is not only about the focus on infrastructure. It's also about skill development, as you're pointing out earlier, and it's also about giving a due notice or due credit to the agri industries or the allied activities out there. Let's wait and watch as to what exactly happens in the budget, and we will bring you all the updates there.
बिल्कुल,
on
जैसे
that
हमने
aspect.
देखा भी कि जो पिछला बजट है किस तरह से गांव और ग्रामीण विकास पर फोकस रहा है, यानी हम कह सकते हैं कि हमारा जो गांव है वो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन के दौर से गुजर रहे हैं, ये गति और तेज हो, और जो इस क्षेत्र को लेकर बजट से उम्मीदें हैं उस पर वो खरा उतरे, ये हम उम्मीद कर सकते हैं। इसी के साथ इस खास पेशकश में फिलहाल इतना ही। कल जो हमारा बजट स्पेशल होगा, आपको बता दें कि कल हम बात करेंगे कृषि उत्पादन बढ़ाने और किसान का जीवन स्तर सुधारने की चुनौती पर।
So that is one very other